Have you ever helped move a house? Not furniture, not boxes, an actual house. I remember seeing people come together to move a kubo or a nipa hat. Neighbors showed up early in the morning. Some carried bamboo poles, others prepared food. Children ran around watching the adults work. There was laughter, teasing, and the usual chaos that somehow always works itself out. Nobody was being paid. Nobody was required to be there. People simply showed up. And looking back, I realized that the most amazing thing wasn't that the house was moved. It was that everyone understood something that today feels increasingly rare. Some things are not meant to be carried alone. And maybe that's what Bayanihan has always been about. Not carrying houses, carrying each other. Before we continue, I want to explain why I'm talking about this. If you've been following this channel or know of my work, you know that much of it revolves around what I call the framework on intentional and legacy building living, or FEEL. At its heart, the framework asks a simple question: what kind of life are we building, and what kind of impact will remain long after we're gone? Many people think legacy is about personal achievements, but I believe some of the most important legacies are not individual, they're communal. They're found in the families we strengthen, the communities we build, the values we pass on to the future generations. That's why Bayanihan matters. Because Bayanihan is not just a cultural tradition, it's a way of living intentionally. It's a way of saying that our lives are connected and that the kind of society future generations inherit depends on how we treat one another today. To understand Bayanihan more deeply, we need to talk about another Filipino concept: kapwa. Kapwa doesn't have a perfect English translation, but in simple terms, it means recognizing that other people are not completely separate from us. Their dignity matters, their struggles matter, their future matters. Not because they are useful to us, not because they belong to our group, but because they are fellow human beings. And when kapwa becomes action, it becomes bayanihan. That's why bayanihan is not just about helping, it's about caring enough to help. It's about seeing someone else's burden and deciding that they shouldn't have to carry it alone. I've seen this many times in my own life. I've seen it when communities came together to transfer a kubo. I've seen it in schools when parents volunteered their time, when teachers went beyond their responsibilities, and when classmates help each other succeed. I've seen it during birthdays, fiestas, weddings, and community celebrations. Someone cooks, someone cleans, someone arranges chairs, someone washes dishes. Everyone contributes something. Nobody asks whose job it is. People simply help. And perhaps one of the most powerful examples happens during wakes. When a family loses someone they love, they're often overwhelmed by grief. Yet suddenly, people appear. Neighbors bring food, relatives help prepare meals, friends stay through the night, someone makes coffee, someone welcomes visitors, someone quietly takes care of things that needs to be done. No one needs to be told. People simply know. And in those moments, grief becomes something shared. The family still hurts, but they don't hurt alone. We saw another example during the pandemic. Many of us remember the community pantries. People gave what they could. People took what they needed. For a moment, it felt like the country remembered something important: that survival is not an individual project, that communities can still care for one another. But I think it's important to clarify something. Bayanihan is not about getting a free ride. It's not about expecting other people to carry your responsibilities while you do nothing. In traditional bayanihan, everyone who could contribute usually contributed. The goal was never dependency. The goal was solidarity. Life is unpredictable. A typhoon destroys a home, someone loses a job, a family faces illness, someone experiences loss. In those moments, people step in and help, not so that the person remains dependent forever, but so that they can stand again. Today I help you, tomorrow you may help me. That's not charity, that's community. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why Bayanihan feels under pressure today. Not because Filipinos have become selfish, but because many people are tired. Life has become more expensive. Work takes up more of our time. Traffic consumes hours of our day, and families are spread across cities and countries. And many people are simply trying to survive. Then there's the social media. Now, social media is not entirely bad. It helps raise awareness, it helps mobilize support, it helps communities organize during emergencies. But it can also trap us inside our own little bubbles. We know what's happening in the other side of the world, but sometimes we don't even know the names of the people living next door. We spend hours arguing with strangers online, but rarely talk to our neighbors. And slowly, without realizing it, we start caring about fewer and fewer people. What weakens Bayanihan is not only selfishness, it's disconnection. And this isn't just a Filipino problem. It's happening around the world. Political divisions are becoming deeper. People increasingly see those who disagree with them as enemies rather than fellow citizens. Many countries are becoming more hostile towards migrants and refugees. People leave their homes searching for safety, opportunity, or a better future. Yet they are often treated as problems rather than people. What's ironic is that many societies depend heavily on migrant workers, and even refugees can contribute to national development as well. They care for children, they care for the elderly, they build homes, they grow food, they keep economies running. The world benefits from their labor while often refusing to fully recognize their humanity. And that brings me to another idea that reminds me so much of kapwa. In many African communities, there is a philosophy called Ubuntu, a phrase often used to describe this concept. I am because we are. Beautiful. The first time I heard that, I immediately thought of kapwa. Different cultures, different histories, but the same wisdom. Our humanity is connected. Our lives are connected. Our futures are connected. And perhaps this is the lesson the world needs right now. Because when people stop seeing one another as fellow human beings, trust begins to disappear. Communities become weaker, loneliness grows, politics become more toxic, and inequality becomes easier to ignore. After all, if we see others as strangers, why should we care? But if we see them as kapwa, everything changes. We begin to understand that our well being is connected to theirs, that our communities rise together or fall together, that none of us truly succeeds alone. Maybe that's the deeper lesson of Bayanihan. It's not just the Filipino tradition from the past, it's a reminder about the future, a reminder that the strongest societies are not built only through economic growth, technology, or political power. They're built through trust, through relationships, through people choosing to care about one another. And from the perspective of intentional and legacy building living, that may be one of the most important questions we can ask ourselves. What kind of culture are we leaving behind? A culture of isolation? A culture of division? Or a culture where people still show up for one another? Because at the end of the day, our greatest legacy may not be what we have achieved for ourselves. It may be the communities we helped build, the people we lifted up, the values we passed on, and the burdens we helped others carry. Maybe Bayanihan was never really about moving houses. Maybe the house was just the symbol. The real lesson was always about people, about showing up, about caring, about remembering that none of us were meant to carry life alone. And in a world that increasingly tells us to focus only on ourselves, that might be one of the most radical acts of all. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you subscribe, like, comment, or share, and see you in the next video. Thank you.